Welcome to Kalamazoo Lively Arts, the show that takes you inside Kalamazoo's vibrant, creative community and explores the people who breathe life into the arts.
Support for Kalamazoo Lively Arts is provided by the Irving S. Gilmore Foundation, helping to build and enrich the cultural life of Greater Kalamazoo.
I'm John Koch here at the historic Kalamazoo State Theater. On today's show, Jan Cruzy and Shelley Irwin take you through history to heritage guitar, inside the mind of an actor at Farmers Alley Theater, and show you the art of jewelry making at Amy Zane store and studio. Now, heritage guitar.
A guitar is first and foremost, it's a musical instrument, but it's also a work of art. You know, it has the body shape and it has a nice finish on it. A lot of people look at the guitar as it enhances their stage presence. I've heard a lot of guys saying, you know, I hold the guitar and look in the mirror and see how I look.
It's a solid body, single cutaway, solid body guitar.
With a carved top.
It's mahogany back, curly maple top, carved. You know what I mean about the carve, it's domed, with a one-piece mahogany neck. You can see them pieces of wood are the same type wood. One piece with got little side pieces, and this particular one here is a one-piece body with a two-piece curly maple top. You can see the seam right there. It's two-piece glued together.
That's matching, it makes a nice, nice picture.
It's a match, you know. See them curls come together, and that's the idea. This is probably one of the most soul-tight guitars ever been done in the world, this style guitar.
If the walls at Heritage Guitar could talk, they would have quite a story to tell. The old manufacturing company was built in the late 1800s. Orville Gibson started building guitars here in 1896. Some of the original tools can still be found in the building. For many years, the Gibson Guitar Company called this home, but Gibson decided to relocate to Nashville in 1984. However, a couple of employees of Gibson decided they didn't want to move, so they started building guitars under the Heritage name. Heritage showed off their instruments at a guitar show the following year. Soon after, the word spread that a group in Kalamazoo was again producing high-end stringed instruments. Musicians came, guitars were sold, and 30 years later, fine handcrafted guitars are still being produced in Kalamazoo. The tradition continues.
Well, there was very few people that went to Nashville when it moved, very few. But we had the cream of the crop. We had the opportunity to hire some of these old craftsmen, and we did. You know, like Rendell Wall, Ted Bevel, they'd been around 30, 40 years, you know. They've been building guitars almost as long as we have, you know. That's what makes our guitars unique, because I feel that we build the best quality guitar in the world. Put it up against anybody's quality.
We will match our quality against anyone in the world.
Okay, Jan, what you would do with this guitar is you would take it and you would look it over. You would dough in what we call dough in. It's filling in any gaps that between the wood and the binding, and you get that all filled in. Then you take your sanding block with sandpaper, 220 sandpaper, and you sand it with the grain.
With the
And
grain.
Yeah, with the grain. If you go cross,
So you don't want to go back and forth. You want to go up and down.
you're gonna, when you go up and get finish on it, you're gonna
They're gonna yell
have
at me.
streaks over it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So you stay going with that grain, sand off any wood dough that you get on it, you know, and then you look for nicks, jams, scratches, and if you see them, you just touch them up with the block, with the sandpaper and the block, see? And we do this totally, the back, the neck, the rim, and you move over here. You're left-handed or right-handed?
I'm right-handed, but I feel like I have
That's fine.
like a
Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing.
Now,
there
if I was doing this on a guitar, how long basically would I take to make sure that everything it was really smooth? How long are you talking
Your
about?
eyes is going to tell you.
Okay.
You learn from experience what's supposed to be done. You have a light here. You sand it. You go over it. You look at it. And if there's still a little jam in it or a gap or something,
Okay, if
then
it's not
you're-
exactly smooth, then I know that I need to do more.
Yeah, that's right. If it scratches in it, you know, that they have missed with a machine over here, and
Right.
yeah, that's the curl. This is a two-piece back. You can see it's joined right there. You know.
Oh, I see, okay.
Yeah, you can see the seam in it.
It's almost seamless, though. If you
can.
look really carefully, I can see the seam, but not.
Yeah, we
it's not
don't-
very evident.
We
It's
don't
not very
want it to
apparent.
show up when
Right.
finish gets on. It
Right.
will eventually show up.
Okay.
And then the top is basically the same thing. It's spruce. Now this comes out of Alaska.
Okay.
And this is those little lines, you see them. We line them up, so we put these holes in there for the pickup so that we get them perfectly even this way. And we line it up by lining up to the neck here. And
Why is this different than the back? This is not maple. Why is this different?
This is what they call spruce, which is known for many, many years in violins and mandolins and things. That's the keyboard. It's supposed to be a better sound.
So I would sand this as well.
Same way, yeah.
Same going
If you-
back and forth.
If you look the grain, you can see the grain going.
Uh-huh.
That's the direction you have to sand, because if you go across it, you're gonna leave a scratch in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
And then the rims is basically the same
But
thing.
not the fretboard. I don't worry about that.
You don't worry about that. That's done later over they scrape it, oil it, and clean it.
So once I'm done sanding and I feel like this is wonderful, it's smooth, where does it go next?
It goes to the finishing department up on the third floor.
And they
They shade it, scrape it, put the top coats of lacquer on it, let it dry so many hours between coats. Then it sits for so many days. It sits about a week after they get it totally sanded and finished. And then it'll come down here and sit about another week before it gets buffed. You could walk it through and get it through quicker, but on the average daily basis, it would take 4 to 6 months to produce that through the system.
handcrafted.
Handcrafted, yes. Yeah, and as you can see by our machinery and equipment, we're not automated.
Exactly.
It's quite an art, really. But you've done a good job.
Thank you. Hire me.
Jan, you play an instrument. What impressed you the most about these artists making these guitars?
Well, as a flute player, you have a metal instrument, and you have keys, and there's a certain amount of artistry that goes along with that. But I think with the guitars, the hand sanding and the painting and the individual craftsmanship that goes into a guitar, it's not something that's manufactured. Each guitar is, one of the employees of Heritage has a specific thing that they do to make the guitar. So it's really an individual type of project, and that's why they only turn out a couple hundred a year.
One of the big chapters in Kalamazoo history, of course, is Gibson guitars. They left, but Marv and Jim stuck it out along with a small group of artists.
Right. For 30 years, you know, they've been making guitars. They could have left. Gibson offered them a job, and they said, no, we like West Michigan, and we want to stay here. We want to make this product. So for 30 years, they've been making really quality guitars, bringing in instrumentalist guitars from across the country that want a heritage guitar. So it's an important part, too, of Kalamazoo's history.
It's a great guitar story. Thank you very much.
My name is Caitlin Soderstrom, and I sew. I use a lot of repurposed and vintage materials, and I try to use everything, so I have very little waste. I guess it's sustainable art, I would say. I use broken zippers to make headbands and just any little scrap I can find. I even stuff some of my mouthy monsters with the little fabric scraps. The mouthy monsters are just huggable fun guys, and they have really big mouths that you can put things in or, you know, just carry around, be a little friend.
Next, let's watch Shelley Irwin at the Farmers Alley Theater as they prepare for their production of the Glass Menagerie.
The Farmers Alley Theater is an intimate black box theater located in downtown Kalamazoo. As an equity theater, they not only showcase great plays, but great actors as well. We stopped by during the production of The Glass Menagerie, a classic Tennessee Williams play about a family searching for something more while living in a dreary St. Louis apartment.
It's kind of tricky when you play these classic American theater roles. Like Laura in The Glass Menagerie is classic American theater, and so I think that there's a little bit of, you know, anxiety that goes into knowing that you're going to play an iconic role like this. But I always begin with the internal as an actor, and so I really was looking at Laura and how she behaves in this family, and then how she responds and her language. And I began with like her relationship to fear and her relationship to her glass menagerie, and just made her very human. And so I began working with all of those little intricacies, and then building towards the physical also. Like, as I said, she does have a physical limp. So that became another aspect of the character that I began working with a little later on.
So we are a member theater of Actors Equity Association, which is one of the oldest professional unions in the country. It's around a little over 100 years old, and it was created back in 1913 to provide living wages and a home for professional actors. And since that time, we've been able to contract actors working all across the country, because you can't hire a union actor unless you are a member of the union, a member theater. So we work closely with the Actors Equity Association, and it's been a great relationship. This is our 4th season as an equity theater, and we are so proud to be part of a great organization such as Actors Equity, which provides such great talent to theaters all around the country.
The character Laura in The Glass Menagerie is so iconic, and one of the reasons why is she's so shy, and that shyness is exhibited in a physical handicap that she actually has, with one leg being slightly shorter than the other. So instead of just putting this on as a coat, you really want to live in that shyness, and then in that physical defect. So what I do always before getting into Laura is I stretch, I warm up, and then I start, yes, do maybe a little shake, a little yoga, a little down dog.
So some physical warm-up in addition to some mental.
Absolutely, absolutely, especially when your character is has something physical. So what I like to think of is the source of energy, maybe where the problem is starting from.
And is it mostly in the leg that we're going to work here?
Yeah,
okay.
So Laura's left leg is the one that is slightly shorter. So I start from my hip, and I think of the whole leg kind of curving
twisting a
in.
little bit?
Yeah,
Okay.
So you have to sustain this through 2.5 hours, right? So you really want to be able to take care of yourself, and so you want to be mindful of your body when you're working as an actor all the time. So I would start with the hip, and then I bring the foot down from the toe to the heel.
Because the leg is shorter, that's the...
Slightly shorter,
okay.
so, and it's very real too, so you want to really live in that and feel that.
We are so thankful to live in a community that is generous and want the arts to be a vital component in a town the size of Kalamazoo, and yet we have 2 wonderful university programs. We have one of the largest and oldest community theaters in the country. We have a symphony, we have an art museum, and we felt when we started this project that Kalamazoo deserved to have a professional theater here to bring in the types of works that wouldn't normally be seen in the area, because this is such a deserving community, particularly in the downtown Kalamazoo area where everything is kind of just centered in. And it's such a great artistic landscape here in downtown Kalamazoo.
So we're literally going to turn our leg in.
You turn your leg in, yeah. So you think of your pinky toe, and think of that being where you fall on your foot, and then and feel your foot all the way back to the heel, and then you push off with your pinky toe when you're stepping. So let's try it.
Let's try it.
So try, maybe if you have to explore.
Think about it, pinky toe.
And feel it.
And feel it.
Yeah, so if you have to kind of maybe walk around our set, and could you sustain that? I mean, you got heels on, so that's...
Yeah, that's kind of...
That's bonus points.
I don't want to turn my back to the camera.
As you can see in our beautiful Glass Menagerie set, we have a lot of steps. So that's also part of this in walking up the step. And there's a moment where I take off my shoes, so we have to think about your foot and that placement. And so all of these aspects in creating a role and creating a character are things that you really do need to live in.
It isn't a flood. It's not a tornado, Mother. I'm just not popular like you are in Blue Mountain. Mother's afraid I'm going to be an old maid.
Theater is an amazing way to see life, and to see life reflected, and to see truth reflected. And I think that's really what we're all trying to get to with art, is to see the human interaction and human experience reflected back to us.
What shall I wish for, Mother? Happiness.
That theater looked very small. What was it like in there, Shelley?
Well, they called this particular setting a black box, which is more of an intimate setting. I mean, you still have capacity for a large audience. You still have capacity for the actors to move around and do their thing, but it's a little more intimate.
And what's the experience like for the audience?
Well, the audience, if you want to do theater, you're just this close from being on stage. I think it brings you closer to the action. It brings you closer not only physically, but also perhaps emotionally, perhaps mentally, where you're actually able to see the characters' emotions, able to see the lines in the face, and perhaps that brings you a little closer to the storyline and brings the belief and the mission that the Farmers Alley Theater strives so well to do. And plus, it's just a unique way to see theater that maybe the nosebleed section isn't part of. So the Farmers Alley Theater certainly is a great way to experience theater up close and personal.
No dozing off in there, that's for sure. All right, thank you, Shelley. For our third segment, Jan takes us into downtown Kalamazoo to Amy Zane store and studio.
Downtown Kalamazoo hosts a number of art galleries and shops along the mall, but the Amy Zane Gallery can't be compared to the others. It's filled with unique art made, for the most part, by Michigan artists. Many are from the Kalamazoo area. Some of the things that you can find in her store are paintings, pottery, and jewelry.
The history of my jewelry and of the gallery all kind of roll into one. And I'll start at the beginning with the jewelry. I was living out in San Francisco, and I was working at a high-paying job that I did not enjoy. So kind of maybe irrationally and irresponsibly, I quit the job and started on a series of smaller jobs. And one night I looked on a website that I'd looked at every single day for a job that I thought might turn into a career for me. And the very first listing was, do you want to learn how to make jewelry and how to run a retail store location? And I said, why, yes, I think I do. And I just knew that was it.
Tell me about some of these that you've already done.
Yeah. So these are what I'm talking about when I say that the earth does amazing work and it doesn't need to be improved upon much. Like, for instance, take a look at this.
That's gorgeous.
This is how it came out of the earth. And so I think, why mess it up with adding a bunch of things? Just make a beautiful chain for it. Another example would be, this is a Druzy ocean jasper.
Wow.
And this is actually a stone that is now mined out. It was only off the coast of Madagascar. And you had to scuba dive to get to it or go at low tide.
Oh
and
my
it's
goodness.
It's gone. It always has these beautiful round orbs.
It almost looks like, yeah, the ocean, you know, with the bubbles in the water, and you can see the ocean coming out of that.
I don't know if you can see the amazing
Oh,
colors
iridescent.
to that. And then this side, do you see that?
Yes.
This is my favorite stone in the world. This is labradorite. It's from the coast of Canada, Labrador, Canada. And it is the only stone that has an actual optical illusion named after it, called labradorescence. My parents, who are wonderful and supportive, but also very protective, said, "You can't make a living off of selling jewelry." And I said, "Watch me." And so I went out and I started doing wholesale. And my very first store that I approached was a store called OG, which was in this exact location back in the day. And she bought $1,600 worth of wholesale jewelry. And my parents said, "Oh, maybe you can make it." And so that was the beginning. So these are my tools. You just need these to be able to make basically what you want. I only have one rosary plier, so I'm going to show you and then I'll hand it over.
Okay, all right.
We are going to start with what is the basic loop that you learn in jewelry. And it would be used for something like how I finish off the end of my necklaces. So we're going to start.
You
with
must have perfect eyesight.
I feel
I need
like
my glasses on. Yeah.
My eyesight's actually improved. I think.
Really?
Yeah. So the first thing you're going to do
is put the bead on the wire.
Put the bead on the wire, and then you want to make it pretty. You always want to have seed beads on either side.
Okay.
And also, it makes it easier to bend because you stick your fingernail right in there and you bend it.
Now, why are you bending it?
You want to create a shape when we bend this that's kind of like an ice cream cone.
Okay.
A pointy ice cream cone.
All right.
A lot of people just make them round. You don't want to do that.
All right.
But this wire is a little bit too long to start. So we're going to clip. And then you do, let's see how to show you this. Series.
So minute. I mean, it's
I
really,
know.
Tiny, tiny, tiny.
You want to grab it so there's still a little bit that's straight right there.
Right, okay.
And so you leave a little bit straight, and then you do a series of little bends.
Oh, okay.
Like that.
Yeah.
So that is the basics of
Okay.
it. You want to try?
Sure. It's so tiny. I wouldn't have no idea even where to start. I can't even pick it up. It's so tiny. Oh my goodness. How do you do this?
The agility grows.
See, I have no.
Okay,
I have
let's
no
start.
agility.
You want me to do that part?
It's Amy. I don't know how you do this. Here.
So we'll do this
The
part
crystal.
for you.
Here's the. Whoops. See, if you sneeze, it's over with.
I tend to have a lot underneath my chair. Okay, so
All right.
there's
okay,
that
got that.
part for you.
Now I want to bend this, right? Like an ice cream cone.
First, you just bend it to a 90-degree angle.
Okay.
Perfect. Now you
Yay.
take this.
And clip off the end. Now, how do I know how much to clip?
Do about a third, should be. The clipping part is right down there. That's the rounded part. I should have explained that.
No, that's fine.
Now you then you take that back in that hand and you grab just a little bit further down, but you want it to be, it needs to come this way. So you're going to want to, angle it away from you a little bit. And then.
Okay, wrap it around.
Doop, doop.
This is, you make it look so simple and it's not at all easy.
It's a little harder than most.
Well, I'm a
than it
novice,
looks.
obviously. You're trying to teach me how to do this, and it's like, I can see, how you make it look so easy, and it's hard. You've had years of practice.
I've had a few years of practice.
Yeah, years of practice.
There we go.
Now, you want me to clip it or coil it?
You know what? You leave it long and coil it if you want to, whichever you want to do.
Yeah, it just, like I said.
It might be easier. You go over the top.
So it's really, it's so precise and so tiny. And now I get the idea about what I'm trying to do here. But just to, to do this, and you really find relaxation and pleasure in this.
I do, and it's
and
very
I'm going
strange.
crazy.
Well, I have the gallery, which is big and bold, and then I have the detail,
right,
which is this. And when I like to be able to think about things and put some thought into it.
Very nice. Makes it look so easy. It's unbelievable.
Jan Amy really does some amazing work.
She does, and the thing that's interesting is all the stones that she uses, the jewelry that we worked on. She has stones from all over the world that she collects and makes into pieces. And the interesting thing is that if you see a raw stone that you really like, she will make it into a piece of jewelry for you. So really unique things that she does.
Now her shop is located right here on the Kalamazoo Mall, about a couple of blocks to the north from the State Theater. Who are some of the other artists that she features?
There's predominantly Michigan artists, so you can find potters, a lot of ceramics, some other jewelry makers, some painters. There's even a blacksmithing display where they've done beautiful things in silver. And one of the artists, Tanya Nielsen, who does mixed media, is displayed in that shop, and we're going to take a look at some of her work in one of the future episodes for Kalamazoo Lively Arts.
Sounds good. We'll look forward to that. And thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Kalamazoo Lively Arts. Tune in next week as we visit the Air Zoo and talk with artists Tanya Nielsen and Yolanda Lavender. From the Kalamazoo State Theater, I'm John Koch. Have a good night.
Support for Kalamazoo Lively Arts is provided by the Irving S. Gilmore Foundation, helping to build and enrich the cultural life of Greater Kalamazoo.